and welcome, intrepid travelers, into the land of the mysterious, the myths and the legends of our country, of our world. We're back again here on Nights Around the Fire. Sue's back with us. Hi, Sue.
Hi.
Well, so far, this channel is a success. We've had a lot of people watching. Thank you. We noticed that you enjoy Bigfoot. We're going to have a lot more Bigfoot, plus a lot of other things that might surprise you. Today's a very special broadcast because Sue actually lived this. It's Lake Lanier in Georgia.
Yes, it is.
Well, Sue, tell us a little bit about Lake Lanier.
Lake Lanier. So many of you have probably heard about Lake Lanier. There are a lot of videos on YouTube about it. A lot of podcasts have talked about it. There was a Netflix show a couple of years ago that featured an episode on Lake Lanier. So it's getting out there. It's a little more popular than it was when I moved there. I moved to North Georgia in 2015. And I wanted to live by the lake. And I found out about Lake Lanier. I didn't know anything about its history. I didn't know anything about it other than it was a body of water that lots of people wanted to go to. But it's actually, so parts of the 1996 Olympics were held there.
Oh.
Yeah, the swimming and the canoeing and the boating events were held there.
Is this a big lake?
It is. It's a big lake.
Okay, so it's a pretty big lake.
It is. It is a very big lake. It's an hour outside of Atlanta, so it's very close for everyone in that area to reach. And Atlanta is very accessible from the local areas, like from South Carolina, Tennessee, all of those. Very easy drive. So it brings a lot of people in. It gets about 10 million visitors a year.
Whoa.
And it was created in 1956 for the Chattahoochee River and the Buford Dam. Buford Dam was constructed there to block for the lake. And one of the exits on the highway from where I lived was Buford Dam Road. So I lived up here and Buford Dam Road was over here.
So this particular lake, even before you moved there, had some mystery to it, right?
It did, and it's funny because when I lived there, we talked about the lake a lot because the lake is so big and it was right there at the location. Like, we were right there by it, and nobody talked about the dark history of it.
Oh.
I actually found out about the history of it because I had an article pop up like on my social media or a video pop up on my YouTube, and I pulled it up and I was like, wait a second.
No full disclosure there.
Yeah, nobody said anything. And I have been swimming in Lake Lanier. My friend was with me. My 2 dogs were with us. So if you go over to our merch store, we have some really fabulous I Survived Lake Lanier t-shirts. Mine has not come yet, but as soon as mine comes, I will be rocking it on this podcast. So if you have been to Lake Lanier and you have been swimming, boating, any of these things, and you want to prove that you were not pulled to your death by a ghost, we've got the shirt for you.
Go to our merch store. A link is in the description box. Please shop away and support this channel. Mm-hmm. Okay, now, Sue, just to go on record here, Sue also was a big fan of The Walking Dead, and of course that was in Georgia. You actually did see some of these people?
So we did a lot of Walking Dead stuff when I was in Georgia. I went to Sonoya twice. We can actually, if you ever want to do a deep dive on Sonoya, we could do that. I could show some pictures, talk about some of my experiences there. And then we did a Walking Dead tour in the city of Atlanta.
Whoa.
And that was really cool because it took us around to a lot of the season 1, season 2 filming locations. Like, we saw Rick's house, which is actually right across from the Atlanta Zoo. And we saw Terminus, which the first time I was there, it still looked like Terminus. The second time that I went to Terminus, they had repainted it.
That was a big episode there, Terminus.
Yes.
Yes. My favorite 2 seasons were 1 and 2. After that, I thought it just became a soap opera with an occasional appearance from zombies.
Agreed.
And that's the case with any series about zombies. I hate to say that. But keep in mind, and I know this is a little off topic, we live in the city where George Romero created The Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Father of zombies.
we're going to be doing some things on that, just to let you know, so stay tuned. And I'm going to hit you up with this. Squash that bell button as well as the like button, because then you'll know when we've released a new video, and you never know what to expect from Sue and Ashley. So keep it here.
Keep it here.
Okay,
We've got big things coming up in the next few months.
Big things. Big. Okay, Lake Lanier. So it says here from your research, the thing about this is that many people believe it's basically cursed, right?
Yes.
It's believed to be cursed. It says you had 700 deaths since 1956, 216 between 1994 and 2022, boating accidents and drowning deaths. 21 people drowned in Lake Erie last year, which is a huge lake here, of course, in northern Pennsylvania, outside of.
We talked about in our last episode when we talked about the aliens.
Right. Now, remember the alien beach episode where people did see an alien ship and a creature come out from Lake Erie here, well, in the forests outside of Lake Erie. Big lake. It's like an ocean. If you've never been to Lake Erie or any of those lakes, it's huge. Now, Lake Lanier is extremely big, too.
Yes.
Now, one thing I got to interject here. Something about lakes are creepy to me. There's something about it. Since the 1950 plus debut of Carnival of Souls.
Never saw that.
Very, very, very scary movie, considering its dating in time, black and white, with a woman who drove into the lake, walked out, and these people kept following her, and she went to the carnival that was in town, and the dead were dancing with her. Well, it turns out...
That's really cool. I've never seen that, but that's really cool.
You can find it on well, I don't know if you can find it on Netflix or Prime, but you can find it on YouTube.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you at the end, creepy, creepy, creepy. I'm not going to spoil it for you or sue. Carnival of Souls. Anyway, creepy place. Is this like creepy?
I didn't think it was creepy. When I was there, I was more concerned about snakes. I am absolutely terrified of snakes. I am just full on terrified. I don't care what kind of snake it is. If it's a stick that looks like a snake, I cannot do it. And so I was more concerned about myself or the dogs stepping on a copperhead, seeing a water moccasin, running into a rattler, any of those things. So I was more concerned about the physical, immediate, rather than the curse part of it. And then at the time I was there, I didn't know any of this stuff that happened.
Wow. Unusual for Sue, who researches just about everything. But I'm digressing there. Just to let you know, if you heard the bells here, our studio dog Zoe makes an appearance here occasionally to say hi. She doesn't want to go on camera right now, but Zoe said hello. Anyway, so what's the story? Why do people think it's cursed? I mean, people die in lakes all the time.
So remember that Lake Lanier is a man-made lake.
Okay.
So when you make a lake, you have to have land. And usually when you have land, there is something else on that land. And sometimes when you have land that there is something else on, that something else happens to be people. Happens to be towns, happens to be schools, happens to be cemeteries. Ooh. So the town that was in the area where Lake Lanier is now created was a town called Oscarville. It was a black community of around 1,000 people. And the government came in and displaced all of the residents of the town. I think it was about 20 families were moved off of the land to take it to make the lake.
They flooded the town.
Yes, and they started flooding it on February 1st, 1956. And it reached its capacity about the following year, which was a faster, 2 years later, 58, because it was a faster turnaround than they were expecting for it to fill.
So 2 years to flood a town that is now a lake. So some of the town is still there?
Yeah, and we're going to talk about this because there's another lake that's here close to us that has a similar story. And Lake Lanier, they moved some of the graveyards They didn't move all of them.
Some.
Because, and this was the same thing that happened with the local town, you have graves where there's nobody to speak for them. There is no residents around that remember them or can take care of them, anything like that. They had trees, obviously, that were planted around the buildings there that they had to cut down. And sometimes you can see like where those trees still come up out of the water. I have not been able to find anything official on this, especially in the terms of video. So if you have a video or if you have seen it, let me know. Supposedly there is a racetrack down there. There is an old bridge down there. It was one of the old Gainesville Bridge that it was covered over when the lake was created. There were schools and churches that were there. But supposedly there are a lot of dive videos on YouTube. So you can go out and see a lot of the dive videos out there. Supposedly people can dive down there and see the remains of these cemeteries that some of the bodies were left and they were covered over when they flooded the town.
Okay, I'm going on a limb here. This sounds vaguely familiar to Poltergeist. They didn't move the bodies, they just moved the headstones. Remember that? What went wrong there, friends?
Not one thing.
What went wrong?
Absolutely not one thing.
Nothing to see here.
Nope, not one thing. Just picturing that scene at the end, like where the body like pops up like right in her face, like the skeleton just pops up right in her face.
Yeah, that's what you want. That's what you want to see when you're swimming in a lake, is the body just pop up and grab hold of you.
And so that's kind of why we've got a great t-shirt in the merch store that's got a hand coming up out of the lake, because there are a lot of people who say that they are swimming in the lake, minding their own business, and they feel like something is pulling them down.
Wow. Okay, so is it because the land is cursed because of what they did?
Yes.
Because it wasn't a lake before, right? So,
no, it was a town. And not only are the residents of Oscarville unhappy about what's happened. Forsyth County has some other, where part of Lake Lanier is located, has some dark history that is associated with it. So some bad things happened at the site of Lake Lanier that we have not discussed today, that we can discuss later if you would like us to get into those. And the Cherokee also believed that land was cursed. So there's a lot of talk about this land being cursed, about bad spirits out there. So the belief is that these spirits are angry that their homes were taken, that their graves were displaced, and they are still wreaking havoc on the lake users today.
So apparently up to about 700 deaths right now on the count. Now, whether, of course, and we're going to get into this, whether, of course, this is because the lake is actually cursed or just, let's face it, wear and tear on people, how things work out when you have a boating accident or you can't swim or you fall in the water and you hit your head. I guess it could be any number of reasons that you can die in a lake, but not all of them are associated with the supernatural. Right.
Some of them are associated with spirits, but a different type of spirit, if you catch what I'm picking up.
Yeah, the 100 proof, 150 proof spirit.
Yeah. I used to go to a little tiki bar called Pelican Pete's that was on Lake Lanier. It was one of my favorite places there, and it was right on the lake. There were lots of people there who were stepping right off and onto their boat and up to the tiki bar.
Well, you're hearing a lot more about Sue today, getting a little more to know about Sue and the tiki bar. But, okay, Sue, so I'm seeing here that there's hauntings. Now, people see ghosts here?
Yes.
Physical manifestations of ghosts on the water or on the land next to the water?
Both, actually. Okay. So there are stories about ghost boats on the water. There are stories about ghosts walking alongside the lake on the shores. And there is one particularly famous story about a kind of a vanishing hitchhiker type ghost. There were two ladies. They were Susie Roberts and Delia Parker Young. And the two of them had been they were either at a dance or they were going to a dance at a roadhouse out in the Gainesville area. So they were driving home, either driving there or driving home. Moral of the story is they never made it home.
Both of them?
Both of them. Just completely disappeared. Couldn't find the car, couldn't find them. Had no idea what happened to them. A year later, a fisherman on Lake Lanier discovers the body of a woman floating in the lake. Now, the body is badly decomposed. It's missing its hands, missing some toes, but it's still wearing a blue dress.
So they're assuming this is one of the two women.
Well, at the time, they weren't really sure. So, flash forward to the 1990s when they are doing some repair work on the bridge.
Okay.
What do you think they find?
Another body.
Yes, but they also find the car. In Lake Lanier was the car registered to Susie Roberts, and Susie Roberts' body was inside of the car. They found skeletal remains of her.
But the other body was not there.
The other body was not there, but they were able to identify the body that they had found years ago as that of Delia Parker Young.
So there's a question here. What actually happened? How did one get stuck in the car, in the water, and the other body in another location, which could happen with water, of course, but happened to get out of the car, but still not survive?
And that... It's theorized that somehow they went off the bridge, went into the lake, and both drowned.
But both weren't in the car.
Both were not in the car.
Mystery.
It is a mystery, but one of the bigger parts of this mystery is the fact that people have seen Delia Parker Young's ghost wandering the bridge along the side of the road like she is looking for something. And there are people who will tell you the story that Delia Parker Young is now known as the Lady of the Lake, and she will pull swimmers to their deaths.
Okay, so this is where it leads into some of the deaths.
Yes.
This is one of the ghosts associated with murdering people.
Yes, yes.
No other way to put it, folks. Murdering people.
The Lady of the Lake is one of the suspected culprits of the Lake Lanier curse, who will drag people down, will grab swimmers. Swimmers will feel like their foot is caught in something, and they don't know what it is. They can't see it. There's nothing there, and they can't get out of it.
Okay, so let's take a deep look at this. So people believe that the lake is cursed and haunted.
Yes.
I'll use that two separate things, cursed and haunted.
I like how you did that, because that's two. You're right. That's two separate things.
Right.
Cursed does not equal haunted. Haunted does not
No.
equal cursed.
I mean, I guess they can combine to wreak havoc.
Which, if you believe the story, then yes, that's what's happening at Lake Lanier.
Was this the only ghosts that people have seen?
No, they've seen a lot of
Besides
other
the
ghosts.
boats, so there's more than...
Yeah, there's...
This, she's just famous because of...
She is one of the particularly famous ghosts, but there are a lot. People will supposedly, like, they'll feel like their boat goes over something, and they're out in deep water and there's nothing there.
Okay, so my opinion here is, once again, to me, lakes have a creepy vibe, especially the later in the day you get. It just is what it is, folks. I mean, there's been plenty, and we always use movie references here. We're good at it. But there's always movies made around murders at the lake.
Camp Crystal Lake.
Right. I mean, you can go down a long list of books written about lakes and haunted lakes. And so, right off the bat for me, I get a feeling that where there's smoke, there's ghosts. Now, you might have a different opinion. What are you thinking about this, Sue?
So I don't deny that it could be haunted. I never saw anything there. I never experienced there. But like we've said here before, just because you've not seen something
Right.
doesn't mean that it's not real. So I believe that people genuinely have had strange experiences at Lake Lanier. And we're going to talk about another place where people have had strange experiences.
That's closer to home.
Closer to home. So I do believe that it could be haunted. Now the cursed part, you've got a very popular lake outside of a very popular metropolitan area. It is very close to the city of Atlanta. It is very close to a lot of other locations in the South. It's a very easy drive for people. It's a very popular place to come. I think when you combined a very popular location with a lot of visitors, I think you're going to have a lot of accidents, and I think nature happens, and I think you've got inexperienced swimmers, you get inexperienced boaters, you get people who are having too much to drink, and then trying to swim or trying to operate a boat. I think a lot of these can probably be chalked up to accidents.
Wow. Okay, you heard that first here, Sue. It's leaning on a little more of the non-supernatural side.
My sincerest apologies to any of my North Georgia friends who are watching, which actually I hope you are, and I hope you guys can tell me some stories about it, because never really talked to too many people about it than I knew down there.
Well, now there's more at play here, and I want to say this because there's all these stories, and it's always got a taste of the area you're in. The bayou has its own legends. So does much of the South. The Adirondacks do. I know the Smoky Mountains have huge legends.
We need to talk more about the Smoky Mountains.
We'll be talking that because that is a very big area with a lot of legends, and a lot of this goes through folklore. Now, we said last week, because we sort of flipped here, I don't believe necessarily, I'm going to say this again, Sue, that aliens come from outer space, from distant planets on spaceships. That was my point. I didn't say that there wasn't something there. I just don't know what. But we said that it's hard to get through the lens of pop culture. And so this lake, you were there. You didn't see anything really weird about it. Others do. Maybe they were influenced by pop culture. Maybe some of the sightings were part of that. But I'm going to err on the other side that, like you, I'm sure a lot of these are hardcore ghost stories that have no real explanation. So to know which ones are which, to know which one of those 700 deaths might have been associated with the curse or with ghosts, we'll never know.
And I think that it's a lot of the pop culture thing, because you're right. Like, a lot of the pop culture stuff takes place around these lakes. And I think it's a good local ghost story. Because I had at least one person say to me one time, like, oh, that's the ghost lake up there or something like that. And then if you read the comments in some of these YouTube videos, there are stories, like people comment, like, I grew up in that area. My parents wouldn't take us there. Everybody around knew that the lake was haunted. Everybody knew that was a dangerous place to go. I'm like, first of all, where were you people when I was moving down there and buying a house by this place?
No one told Sue. Okay, they just let her go there, probably hoping she'd be another statistic that they could talk about around their campfire that week.
Right.
But we got Sue back.
But I survived Lake Lanier. I don't have the T-shirt yet, but I will soon. So
make sure you go to our merch store, linked in the description box, and look at that stuff. It's really pretty cool stuff.
You could rep your I Survived Lake Lanier. You could rep your Lake Lanier Lady of the Lake shirt.
And, of course, you can get a shirt just like this. I'll get this right. And others like it. Take a look.
Take a look. But I think everybody's got their ghost stories. I think every area's got their ghost stories, which we're going to talk a little bit more about our local ghost stories. But I think that it's a really cool legend. I think it's a really cool story. It's an area with a really interesting past, and I think it's evolved into a story that everybody wants to tell.
Yeah, now a local folklore there, local legend. Now, before we move on to the local lake here, I want to give another tip off. The merch store, we have a lot of merchandise, hats and bags, shirts, hoodies. Go and take a look. Support our channel. Click on and buy some stuff. We appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, and share our videos. Squash that like button and hit the bell icon. That'll let you know when we've released a new video. And I want to promote my own channel today again. If you like basically analysis and commentary on today's events happening, politics, geopolitics, the economics of this world, a lot of interesting things happening, folks. Go to my channel, The David Tomsic Show. Link in the description box as well on YouTube. Please like and subscribe to that channel. We want you in the family. We believe everybody who watches our videos are part of that family, and we appreciate you. Okay. Now, Livermore, PA.
Yeah, and I put in, so this is one of those things, when I first heard about Lake Lanier and started researching it and finding out what went into the story behind Lake Lanier, I immediately said, hey, I read about that in a book. And I've got my Haunted Pennsylvania book here because this book tells the story of Livermore, which was a town in Westmoreland County. And the flooding of land to create lakes and bodies of water is not uncommon. I don't know if you remember locally, one of the local lakes last summer got so dry that you were able to see the remnants of the old highway that ran past it. So this is not uncommon. I know some people talk like Lake Lanier is the only lake that they did this with, that's not so. So one of the towns that they did this with was Livermore, and it was in Westmoreland County, Pennsylvania, along the Conemaugh River. So it started out that the town flooded in 1936 and it displaced a lot of the residents. Residents weren't sure what they were going to be able to go back to, what they were going to have left. So they lost a lot of people, they kept a lot of people. It was kind of a split thing for the town, but the town did not come back the way that it once was. So in 1950, it was a very easy choice for the government to go ahead and step in and say, we're going to use this town and this land as part of the Conemaugh River Flood Control Project. So they displaced the town and decided to flood the area. Well, Livermore also had a cemetery. And the residents of Livermore were given the option that they could move their family members to the newly created Livermore Cemetery, which was up on the hill above what was going to be the new water basin. So some of them did. Some of them did move their relatives. But like in any cemetery, there are people that don't have them to speak for.
No living relatives.
Yeah, there's nobody to come back for them. Families have moved out of town. Families have died. They just can't do anything. And especially with a lot of people leaving the town in the 30s after the flood, they didn't have anybody to speak for them. So those graves, they would move the marker. Sometimes they wouldn't, and leave the graves there. So it was flooded over. And now, to this day, people will hear phantom church bells on Sunday mornings because the town of Livermore is still having its church services. And people will see spirits walking across the water, and it's like they're looking for something. So are these the ghosts of the people who have died and were buried in the old cemetery and they were looking for their old graves? Are they past residents who are looking for their old houses? What's going on there? There are also ghostly buildings seen on the water, on the surface of the water. And then when you go to the new Livermore Cemetery, where the bodies have been moved to, people have seen spirits there, seen dark shapes there, and they have also felt things grabbing at them as they're walking through the cemetery. What would you say if I told you that there were people who think that the town of Livermore was cursed from the 1700s?
Well, okay, so if that's the case, that would answer a lot of other questions and open up Pandora's box to more questions. Why was it cursed?
So in the 1700s, supposedly a witch was burned at the stake. Now, let me clarify for all of the history buffs out there, no witches were burned in America. That was a European thing. That didn't happen.
What about Salem?
Didn't happen in Salem either. They hung witches in Salem and they pressed one person to death. So there were no witches burned at the stake.
Okay, so this is a folklore that's not really true.
No, this is where I'm going to go with you because I feel like pop culture has inflicted itself in here. Like, we want to tell a good ghost story. We really want to tell this story about this cursed land and, this witch vowed revenge on the town for her death and she did all these things, but okay, like, maybe it really is haunted. And actually, this one I also believe could be haunted. I've never been out there. I don't know exactly where this is.
We will find it.
I would love to find this place.
We're hoping to do an expedition to this town, or former town.
We could go to the cemetery. I'm sure we can find the cemetery.
We'll find it. And we'll broadcast from there and do a podcast from there. Because sometimes it is nice to see locations. We don't have a big budget here, folks. Unlike the History Channel, we don't. So, by the way, if you'd like to help us with that, get in contact with us in the comments section. We're more than happy to hear from you.
We can set up a Patreon.
Yeah, we can do
set up
that.
a Patreon.
And so we can actually get on the road more. Want to get all three of us out there, Ashley included, although Ashley may not want to do the Bigfoot hunt, afraid she might get taken first. We'll protect her, don't worry.
Yeah, nobody will disappear on our watch.
No one will disappear. So keep that in mind, folks. Okay, so this is an urban legend, or just a legend, not even urban.
So think about what we've got here. We've got 2 cursed lakes over flooded towns.
Similar facts there.
Yeah, in 2 different parts of the country, and I'm sure there are other ones out there.
There's got to be plenty.
Yeah, so if you've got one that's not in Georgia or Pennsylvania, and please tell us about it, because I want to know not only for this channel, but for my own curiosity. Because that's why my skepticism of Lake Lanier comes up, because I knew this story of Livermore. I had heard this story before, and that creeps me out. The story of Livermore and the hauntings there creeped me out. So I immediately went, I don't know, guys. Sorry to all of my Georgia friends, but that just feels like a really cool local legend and local story.
Yeah, I'm sure they have people around their campfires, as we do here, telling that story. And I bet it gets better and better every time it's told.
Right.
So, as Sue mentioned, if you have a story like that, let us know. And then, of course, let us know if there are legends associated with it. That's the most fun part. We enjoy looking into urban legends, myths, and mysteries. And these things technically all are mysteries.
They are. And this is a great story. Both of them are great story. Both of them are great campfire tales to tell. And yeah, they can be very scary stories to tell. You could really freak somebody out with some of these stories.
Now, has anybody, to your knowledge, been killed in Lake Lanier?
In Livermore?
In Livermore. I'm sorry. Livermore.
Not that I know of.
So, Lake Lanier definitely has a...
I don't know how much you can actually get into it, though. I don't know how accessible that section of water is, though.
Oh, so you might not be able to actually get there. It's not a tourist attraction.
Yeah.
It's just a flooded town. It wasn't set up as a beachfront property or anything.
Yeah, not like... See, and that's... Thank you. That's what Lake Lanier is. Lake Lanier has been set up as kind of a beachfront town now. So you've got people coming there. Yeah, so Livermore's not like that.
Yeah, so there's not enough eyes in Lake Livermore to really say anything.
No.
I mean, we're just at the mercy of... Why would then it be cursed?
Because of the witch.
Okay, so the witch cursed, although she wasn't burned at the stake. We don't even know if there was a witch.
We don't know that there was a witch. What we do know is there was a town that had lost a lot of the population due to the flood that they had in the 30s, and a government who said, you know what, that town's not doing so well. We need that land for the flood plan, so we're going to get out. Goodbye.
You can see everybody around a table, government officials. What does everybody say? Raise your hand to flood it. Flood it! Flood it!
Flood it.
It's flooded.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there is collateral damage there.
There is, and they are going to, when they pick these areas, they are going to pick the lower incomes, the not as successful towns. Yeah, no, they're not going to decide to suddenly flood Cannonsburg.
No, or Bethel Park or Peters Township.
Yeah.
Man, no, it's not going to happen. Of course, we do live with 3 rivers, and we don't see any flooding there anymore.
They haven't flooded Pittsburgh yet.
No, not yet. Although it has flooded in the past, pretty high. Not so much in recent times, but that's another story. Okay, Sue, so what do we learn from, these ghost stories? Do we have a way to reflect and see what people think and why do they fascinate themselves with this?
Here's my theory. My theory is that some of these urban legends, and I'm going to do a deep dive into urban legends soon, is that a lot of these are set up to keep, you had kids, you want to keep your kids safe, so, don't go play in the lake. Why? Because the lady of the lake is going to drag you down, and you're going to drown. When it's really just, I don't want my child to go out to the lake because they're not a strong swimmer and they might get hurt or they might drown or something like that. And I know my child might not necessarily listen to me if I tell them, just don't do it. But if I say, oh, the lady of the lake's going to get you, that might be the deciding factor.
And maybe the kids can tell their parents to stay off the 150 proof whiskey before getting on the boat. That might help as well.
That is our public service announcement. We're in the heart of summer here. We are in the heart of lake season. If you are going to drink 100 spirits, let's not go swimming in Lake Lanier. Let's not go boating in Lake Lanier. Let's just actually go home and take a nap. Let's not even, you can go home and watch some YouTube videos about Lake Lanier.
Yeah, it's like they go up to they go up into the woods with guns and they drink, then they go hunting. Not a good idea.
Also not a good idea.
Especially if Bigfoot's hanging out there.
He's just shaking his head.
Yeah.
If he's a portal being, he's like, I'm out. I'm going back through my portal. I don't need to see this.
Hey, if you haven't watched that video, go back and watch the Bigfoot video. It was pretty good. I think we had a good time doing it. Again, we've had 4 videos. I want to kind of mention that. We talked about Missing 411. It's the first video with Ashley. Missing people in parks. We're talking about national parks. This is a big, big topic in the United States because a man named David Politis got involved as a police officer and kind of made this a big deal, that people go missing and no one knows why in many, many, many cases. And there are various theories, some supernatural. We're going to revisit that, I'm sure. We also did a Bigfoot. We did one on the Blue Origin flight, Ashley did. Take a check out of that one. Basically, we talked about some of the tactics used in this particular flight by Jeff Bezos. How real was all of it? There were some strange things that happened there. Check that out. And of course, we did the UFO video, which was another pretty popular one. And I know that's going to go full circle. We're going to go back to that as well.
Maybe we'll go to Presque Isle and go to Beach 6.
We could go to Beach 6 where the alien was actually seen and the ship was actually seen by that family. Very, very upfront and personal eyewitness testimony there. I know we've gotten a few comments of people kind of mentioning, that they enjoyed the videos. We appreciate you. I want to ask if you have something that you want us to research, any one of us, let us know. We'll be more than happy to look at it. We've got a lot on our plate here coming up into the summer months and, of course, in the autumn.
Looking ahead.
We're looking ahead. So give us a comment, or I think we have an email, right?
We do.
Okay, we don't know. Send us a comment, and we'll kind of answer you and let you know if we can do that video.
We also have an Instagram. We are Nights Around the Fire on Instagram, so shoot us over a message, give us a follow, give us a like on our post over there, shoot us a message there. And especially to my North Georgia friends, my Atlanta friends, comment here and tell us about your experiences with Lake Lanier. We would love to do a follow-up video and we can do a deeper dive onto some individual stories. We can do some user stories, anything that you like, we can pull up and talk about.
Right. This is a new channel, and we're open for business. And I think there is a lot of crazy things out there.
I think you guys are really going to like some of the stuff that we've got coming up in the next couple of months. We got some guest stars coming on.
We got guest stars. We got, who knows, maybe we'll even get an interview with Bigfoot. You never know. We're going to try. But our favorite topics are probably your favorite topics. And I think we know that Bigfoot is a big pop culture star. And we're going to go back to that. And we're going to enjoy that. And we're going to go and do a little expedition in the woods. Now, let's not get carried away. We're not the Mythbusters, and we're not the folks on History Channel with big deep pockets. We're not going camping. Okay,
I mean, we could.
We could. It just would be poor man's camping. We actually would have to borrow money to be poor there. So we're going to go do some expeditions in different places. If you got a place in the local area, if you're from southwestern Pennsylvania, the Pittsburgh area, let us know if there's anything that you've heard urban-wise. We don't talk about cities because many times everybody thinks about the ghosts in the forests and all the things outside of the urban environment. but the urban area can be very, very creepy as well.
Yeah, and we would love to dig deeper into some of the local lore and the local legends, and we can probably find some experts to catch up with us about it.
I'm sure there's plenty in Pittsburgh that would be more than happy to tell us what's going on there. Having said that, we're going to stick with some of the tried and true things. If you have a UFO experience,
tell us about it.
Tell us about it. We mentioned alien abduction. If you know somebody, or if it was you that believes you were abducted, let us know. If you want to talk, we can keep it confidential. If you want to basically not be directly on camera, we can do that. If you want to talk about ghosts you've seen, if you want to talk about even worse case scenario, vampires and werewolves.
We haven't got into vampires and werewolves yet, but we will.
There are people that believe vampires exist.
Yes.
And I was given many stories from people who've been in New Orleans that claim that they've actually met vampires.
I have as well. I've heard those. Actually, I could probably get my friend to come on and tell us that story. And spoiler alert, I am not a person who believes vampires are real.
I don't either, but you know what? Anything's possible anymore.
Just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Right. I mean, that's another folklore / pop culture thing. But keep in mind, stuff like that. Many of these legends are very old. They predate the United States by hundreds and hundreds of years. We know about the forests of Romania, the Black Forest. We know there's been strange occurrences and strange stories coming out of those forests for 1,000 years. So what do we know, really? But we're here on this channel to hammer it home and find out. And of course, between Ashley and Sue, they're going to get to the bottom of something. They do some great research, and we'll get something to talk about for sure. So what's your final really conversation on these lakes?
I love a good haunting story. I love a good ghost story. I love both of these stories. I think both of these stories are so much fun. I would love to hear more stories from both of these places. I would love to see Livermore. I love all of this. Do I think anything that happens on Lake Lanier is because of a curse? No. Do I think that some of those deaths that occur on Lake Lanier could be related to ghosts? Sure. Anything's possible. Anything can happen. Weird things happen all the time. But do I think all of those 700 deaths are driven by some curse on the land? No.
I have to concur with that. I mean, it's easy to throw numbers out because it sounds good. 700 people. Statistically, with 10 million visitors, doesn't really move the needle.
Between 1956 and 2022,
yeah.
That's a long time.
We can chart that. And it would be a very tough chart because it'd be over a long time, small numbers. So, yeah, I concur with Sue. I don't believe that this legend that the place is not just haunted. It could be haunted.
Be haunted.
But the fact that people are being dragged to their deaths by ghosts, I'm not sure that that's true. I mean, there's been 21 people drowned in Lake Erie, which is a huge lake too, which isn't a lot. But that's probably how long was that though?
That was only a handful of years.
So yeah,
it was only from like 2020 onwards.
Still, that's within 5 years, and that's a big lake, and it's another popular destination here in Pennsylvania. You know,
in Ohio, because that's Cedar Point sits right on it.
Right, Cedar Point is an amusement park that I love. Roller coasters, I love them. Amusement parks are another thing. It's creepy.
There's actually a place that's not far from here. That's Lake Swanee Amusement Park. That would be it's a bit of further of a drive, but that would be, if we get some time on our hands, that'd be a great road trip for us to take down.
Lake Swanee. Lake Swanee?
Swanee.
Lake Swanee.
Yeah.
Amusement parks.
Maybe we should do an amusement park video.
Yeah, they're creepy. I mean, it's just something about them. It's like carnivals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just the things that happen. I mean, there's so many, and I'm guessing what we're really dealing with here is what people feel, how emotions are driven by these lighting, by the sounds, by pop culture, by a lot of things. And hopefully we can cut through that in this program. But I'll be honest with you. There's always going to be a mystery to it.
We are both logical people who like a good ghost story. So.
And it is that time of year. It's around the fire time. We might even be able to get to do a around the fire podcast with the three of us.
I think that would be great. Do an on-site around the fire pit.
Man, all this stuff and little time to do it. Well, that's all the time we have today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Sue, for the information. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. And
squash that like button.
And hit the bell icon. We'll let you know when we release a new video.
Go get yourself an I Survived Lake Lanier t-shirt if you too have been swimming in Lake Lanier.
Hit that store, that merch store for us. It's linked in the description box. We appreciate everything you can do for us. We appreciate you watching. Let people know about us. Spread it far and wide. And I'm sure they'll love this program because guess what? We love mysteries, legends, and myths. See you next time, right here on
Nights Around the Fire.